In our last class, we were discussing that as long as the conditioned souls, they are themselves bound up by the laws of nature, then it is very much difficult for them that they opt for temporary solutions to get rid of the three miseries. Their their trials, their experiments, their solutions will be all vain. They will be useless. Why? Because we are bound with the laws of nature. We are helpless. And if we will try to find any solution, if we will try to get rid of these miseries, these sufferings with our own plans, then it will remain unsuccessful. Because the ultimate solution is to take shelter of Krishna. A sane man will understand this thing that his only cause of suffering is that he has turned his face from supreme personality of Godhead Krishna. And once he will understand this thing, he will start serving Krishna. As simple as that. So anyone who is trying to get rid of these sufferings with his own mind, with his own understanding, with his own plans, those plans will remain unsuccessful. The only effective solutions are those mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, and we have to adopt them in our practical lives for our own benefit. So, whatever has been told in Bhagavad Gita, basically, Bhagavad Gita is the standard of our life. Standards are given in Bhagavad Gita that how human beings should live their lives. So, standards are given in Bhagavad Gita, and we have to adopt them in our practical lives for our own benefit. So, one should understand this thing that whatever knowledge is given in scriptures, it is for our own benefit only. Everyone you see, they are finding happiness around themselves. This is all everyone want. They want to become happy. Uh, they want to be peaceful. They want to calm. So, whatever things have been given, whatever knowledge is given in scriptures, anyone who will follow those knowledge in their practical lives, they will get benefit. So, bottom line is that if you want benefit in your life, you follow knowledge of scriptures in your practical life. Your life will be full of joy. Every day will become magical. Every day will become festival for you. If you will follow the knowledge of scriptures as it is in your life will become easy. Yesterday only I was reflecting on this that literally we are so much conditioned, we are so much fallen that we have become habitual of sufferings. We have became habitual of making our lives complicated. That's why you will see this is really our misfortune. I was really reflecting on this yesterday. Why? Because yesterday there was one girl. She was getting she was getting so much tensed. Tense means not that anxiety about her business. I want to sell this, I want to sell this. She was just so much tensed. And Means her life is very nice. She is a nice devotee. She is really a sincere devotee. But then also, you see, our deep conditioning, because of our deep conditioning, we have become habitual of making our lives so complicated. I was really reflecting on this yesterday when I was looking at her. She was just uh, making so many, what to say, plans. She was adopting so many strategies to promote her business. There is no need of any business. By Krishna's grace, she she's living very nice. She's living her life very nicely. But then also, we are so much habitual of making our lives complicated without any reason. That's why Prabhuji also told this thing many times, that you will see there are people who are very rich. They have no, like, there is no need of any work. If they will not work their whole life, they can easily spend nicely because they have so much of wealth. But then also, people are so much habitual. They have become so much habitual of making their lives complicated. They still want to earn more. They still want to, progress in their material life, etc., etc. I'm talking about devotees. I'm not talking about materialistic people here. And people, you know, who are there in upper planets, they just see us and they are like, oh, these poor people, they are struggling so much here without any reason. They should do some bhajan of Lord Hari and they should just go back to Lord Krishna. But they are so fallen that they are struggling here so much, and that is very normal for them. This was heavy reflection yesterday. So one should understand whatever knowledge we are discussing here, anyone, if he will follow that knowledge, it is not torturing at all. Whatever we are discussing, it is not torturing at all. It is actually very easy. But because of lack of faith, people are unable to surrender on this beautiful process of Krishna consciousness. And that's why they just end up making their lives so much complicated. But one should understand that if they will follow this knowledge, it is for their own benefit. Their life will become easy. The three miseries of material nature are not found in the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. As mentioned before, He is eternally joyful, and His transcendental pastimes are not different from Him. Now, why Prabhupada is telling this thing here? Because you will see many impersonalists, they say that whatever we are doing here, we are God, and whatever we are doing here, it is our Leela. We are performing our pastimes here. So that pig, if he is consuming that stool, it is his Leela. He is performing his pastime. Or any human being, if he is sick, then that is also his pastime. He is performing his Leela. But one should understand this thing, that these three miseries are not Leela at all. These are not Leelas. See, Leela is something, pastimes are something which are joyful by nature. See, here also it is mentioned that Leela is only of the Supreme Lord. First of all, one should understand this thing. We are not performing any Leela here. We are actually suffering here. And this we understand as we take knowledge from scriptures, that how in spiritual world people are actually relishing their lives by serving Lord Krishna. And devotee themselves can experience this thing in their practical lives as they serve Krishna. So whatever we are doing here, we are serving Krishna in deity form, we are chanting holy names of Krishna, we are actually taking a training here. And in spiritual world also we will be performing all these services in service to Lord personally. So pastimes, leelas are eternally joyful. Sufferings cannot be leelas. Sufferings are sufferings. He is eternally joyful, and his transcendental pastimes are not different from him because he is the absolute truth. His name, fame, form, qualities, and pastimes are all identical with him. His pastimes, therefore, cannot be equated with the sufferings of the humanity as the so called Swamis condense. So, this is what so called Swami condense, that whatever sufferings we are suffering here, it is our pastimes. We are performing our pastimes here. If someone is shouting on us, he's performing his pastime here of shouting on us. Isn't this foolishness? Pastimes are always joyful. Have you ever seen any pastime of Krishna? This is what Prabhupada is telling here, that the three miseries of material nature are not found in the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. There are no any sufferings in pastimes of Supreme Lord because pastimes, leelas, are joyful in nature, always. And only Supreme Lord performs pastimes with his devotees. But we are not performing any pastime here. This is what Prabhupada ji is telling here. The pastimes of the Supreme Lord are transcendental to the actual miseries and sufferings of human beings. So the pastimes of Supreme Lord are transcendental. We are here in this material world and we can't even equate, we can't even imagine anything which is transcendental. But at least we can get some idea, some taste by hearing from scriptures. You see now, there are so many pastimes of Lord Krishna. We are reading Krishna book also. So in that you see how many sweet pastimes of Lord Krishna. So many sweet pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. How amazing. Those are transcendental. And that's why, because we are we are spiritual soul, we are fragmental part of Lord, and that's why by hearing those pastimes, those transcendental pastimes of Supreme Lord Krishna, we feel satisfied. We also feel happy just by hearing. See, when I'm saying this, you should have tendency to observe this thing, that when we were in our school or in our college, we used to hear stories in our schools also. We used to hear stories in our colleges also. But it's not like we were feeling any blissfulness that time. Can you observe this thing? Were you feeling any blissfulness or any kind of satisfaction at that time when you used to hear those stories? No, right? Because those are materialistic stories. In fact, you will see in materialistic stories, there is no any taste actually. Those are tasteless. But the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna, even there might be some fights, some fights and all, but then also they seems very sweet. It's not like our heart, um, what to say that? It's not like that we are lacking any kind of peace that time when we hear about, even when we hear about any fights or disputes in of the pastimes of Lord. You see, na, Krishna fought battle in many of his pastimes, but it's not like our heart was flaming. It's not like that. But you come here, whenever we hear any materialistic matter, any materialistic story, we don't experience any bliss. Why? Because we are spiritual spark. We are soul. We are fragmental part of Lord Krishna. So only by serving Lord Krishna, only by hearing about Krishna, we can get satisfied. We can experience bliss. Any materialistic thing cannot satisfy spiritual spark. As simple as that. The sufferings of humanity are caused by the misuse of the discriminative power or the little independence which is given to individual souls. Very important point. One should understand this thing. We already discussed this thing, that we Jivatma, we are independent for for desire. We are independent for desiring. But what is happening? The living entity, they are misusing this independency. Independency of desiring. We have only two options. Either we can take shelter of Lord Krishna or we can take shelter of Maya Devi. Our constitutional state is that we are fragmental part of Lord Krishna. So ideally, standard is that we should surrender Lord Krishna and we should serve Krishna. Because our constitutional state is we are fragmental part of Krishna and we can only satisfy by serving him. But we are actually misusing this discriminative power, which of desiring. Instead of taking shelter of Krishna, we are turning our faces from him and we are doing things which are not connected to Krishna. So this is definitely a misuse, and this is the only reason of suffering. Today in English class of Bhagavad Gita, Prabhuji was explaining this thing very nicely, that the only cause of suffering is that we have turned our faces from our Supreme Personality. This is the only cause, that we have turned our faces off from Krishna. There is no any other thing, there is no any other reason behind this. This is the only reason. And this is what Prabhupada ji is telling here. The suffering of humanity are caused by the misuse of the discriminative power or the little independence which is given to individual souls. You see now how fallen we are, literally. We have only this independence, that we are free to desire. Only this independency we have. That's why Prabhupada ji is saying here, little independence. There is no any uh, independency except this, but then also only this much little independence is there, but then also we are misusing this. dumb we are. So this is practical thing. Anyone who will misuse his uh, whatever powers he has, if he will make misuse of it. For example, any policeman, he is given a pistol so that he may scare thieves or the other people who do any bad things, who do any criminal activities. So policeman has been given a pistol so that he may scare him or for his own protection. But suppose if instead of this he misuse of that pistol, if I take a funny example of this, instead of scaring those thieves, he is basically playing shooting game. He has put an apple in front of him, and with that pistol he is shooting that apple. So he is playing shooting game. So this will be misuse. Definitely this will be a misuse of his powers. He have been given pistol for performing his duty, but he is actually misusing his powers. So he will be punished by government. Although he might not have done any criminal activity, but then also he was misusing, he was playing with that pistol, playing shooting game. So he is actually misusing his powers. So he will be punished by the government. So same way, we have been given this little independence so that we may make utilize of this independency, and we may serve Lord Krishna. We may take other people also to this path. But if living entity, human beings, if they are misusing of this discriminative power or the little independency they have, then they will have to suffer. They will have to be punished. They will be punished by Maya Devi in form of all these material sufferings. The fraudulent swamis or mental speculators, in order to remain consistent with the theory of monism, must pass off the miseries of mankind as the pastimes of God. But actually, these miseries are only the enforced punishments of Maya Devi inflicted upon the misguided, conditioned souls. Are you able to catch this point? Whatever miseries we are getting, it is being imposed on us. We are not independently performing our leelas. It is being imposed on us. You will not serve Supreme Personality, you just suffer. These miseries are enforced on us by the Maya Devi. Miseries can never be pastimes. All these people, these speculators, and all these swamis, fraudulent swamis, who are trying to preach like this, their mind is actually dabba. They have dabba intelligence. That's why they are preaching like this, that you are performing your leela. Oh, you are suffering from coronavirus. You are performing your leela. So they are just foolish. Their intelligence is dabba. That's why they preach like that. These are actually miseries. Are you able to understand this point? That Leelas are always joyful in nature. Miseries are not joyful at all. Those are sufferings. Those are actually painful. One should understand this thing. One more point I was saying here, I'm forgetting that. Yes, suppose if any flood is coming, one of the threefold miseries only. So it's not like, oh wow, flood is coming now. I'll make a swimming pool and I will swim in it. I will perform my pastime. I'll perform my leela. It's not like that at all. It is actually suffering which is imposed on us. You see now when flood come, you might have heard news somewhere. Whenever flood arises, then so many properties they just get destroyed. So those are not pastimes at all. That is very painful. People loses their house and many properties. Farmers may, their fields may get spoiled. So those are not joyful pastimes at all. Those are sufferings, those are miseries which are imposed on us by Maya Devi, on the people who are not serving Lord Krishna. As living entities, oh, okay, let me just forget this thing many times. Hmm. I just go in flow, so I just forget to adjust the screen. Anyways, as living entities, we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Indeed, we actually belong to this superior energy. Very amazing line, isn't it? Supreme Lord means who has all potency. And when we are part and parcel of this much great personality, Lord Krishna, so we actually belong to his superior energy. Means it's not like we are not poor people. We are part and parcel of such a great personality. Are you able to understand your identity? We are not poor at all. Our father is so rich, he's so beautiful, he has all the potencies. So, is it not injustice? Are we not doing injustice with us that we are suffering so much here in this material world? Very beautiful line. We actually belong to his superior energy. As such, we may join his transcendental pastimes in our unconditioned state of life. But as long as we are conditioned by the laws of karma in contact with the inferior energy, our sufferings are our own creations, born of a gross misuse of our little independence. So, as living beings serve Lord Krishna, means Prabhupada ji is telling here that when you will go back to Godhead, you will be able to participate in pastimes of in the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna personally. So, like you're offering food to Krishna here, you're cooking for Krishna here, you will be able to cook for Krishna there, personally for Krishna in spiritual world. You'll be able to feed Krishna personally with your hands. Just we are when we are just discussing all these things, it is very what to say. We are feeling so amazing just by hearing all these things. What to say when we will do it practically, when we'll go back to Godhead. So see, when we hear all these things, then only we desire that yeah, we want to go back to Godhead and we want to serve Lord uh, personally, practically like this. Why I'm saying this? Because 2 days ago there was a Mataji. I was trying I was trying to preach her. So she was saying, I'm okay here. I don't want to go back to Godhead. I'm okay in this material world. She was literally saying like this to me. So this point was clicking in my mind that as we hear from Shastras, then only this desire develops that, yeah, we want to go back to Godhead. If we will not hear Shastras, so we will also think that, yeah, I'm okay here in this material world. I don't want to go back to Godhead. So, isn't this very soothing that we may also join in his transcendental pastimes? But because we are so conditioned by the laws of karma, we are in the contact with the inferior energy. Inferior energy is Maya Devi and superior energy is Srimati Radharani. So yes, we are in the contact in material world. We are in the contact with the inferior energy of Lord Krishna, and in spiritual world, being are in the contact with superior energy of Lord Krishna. But you will see superior energy of Lord Krishna motivates devotees to do service for Lord Krishna more nicely. Superior energy of Lord Krishna enthuses devotees that they may serve Lord Krishna more nicely. And this happens when we chant holy names of Lord Krishna with sincerity, attentively. So, yes, as we are in the contact with the inferior energy of Lord Krishna, our sufferings are our own creations. Now, this line, we can discuss this line in detail, but as our time is over, we may continue this in our next class. We will stop here. श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि बोल